You learn to read the room before you learn to read a book. The sink smells like bleach, and the air feels too quiet. The weird thing you notice is how adults relax when you stop acting like a kid. People assume you were just mature for your age. But here's the surprising truth. I'm Dan, and I unpack the psychology behind the roles we're forced to play. Today, we're uncovering the psychology of a child who grew up too fast. And by the end, you'll recognize the hidden cost that follows you into adulthood. If this kind of psychology hits close to home, subscribe. Quick note, this is educational, not therapy. So let's name what happened. You were trained to be useful. To understand why a child grows up too fast, we first have to look at safety, not the feeling of comfort. The feeling of permission. Permission to be messy. Permission to need. Permission to be small and still be loved. In the dark ages, survival made childhood short by necessity. But in a modern home, childhood can shrink for a different reason. Because the emotional weather is unpredictable. And someone has to become the umbrella. So the child becomes a system. And the system becomes their personality. This is not one trait. It is a pattern. It forms when responsibility arrives before resilience. Think of a backpack. If it is too heavy too early, you don't just carry it. You change your posture forever. The first block is parentification. That means the child takes on adult roles, emotionally or practically. They become the translator in arguments, the peacemaker, the miniature therapist, sometimes the second parent. They learn a dangerous equation. If I manage the adults, I survive. Did you know a kid can become hyper-aware of microsignals just to stay safe? A sigh, a door closing, a spoon hitting a bowl too hard. Those become alarms, so the child develops a superpower. They can predict moods. They can anticipate needs. They can solve problems fast. And everyone claps. Such a good kid. An old soul, wise beyond your years. Here's where it gets interesting. Praise can become a trap when it rewards you for disappearing. The second block is emotional suppression. When your feelings cause more stress in the house, you learn to hide them. Not because you are cold, because you are strategic. You learn to cry silently. You learn to be hungry quietly. You learn to be hurt politely. And you learn to call it strength. But feelings don't vanish. They relocate. They move into the body. Tight shoulders. A stomach that never unclenches. A jaw that lives in brace mode. And later, the mind repeats the same logic at work. Be useful. Be easy. Don't be the problem. Did you know people who grew up too fast often confuse calm with numb? Because chaos was normal. So peace feels suspicious. The third block is identity built on performance. When love feels conditional, you build a self that earns it. Not a self that exists, a self that produces. Good grades, good manners, good outcomes. You become excellent at earning safety, but there's a cost. You don't learn what you want. You learn what is needed. So when someone asks, "What do you like?" you freeze. You give a safe answer. Or you mirror their answer. Because wanting feels risky. Wanting feels like taking. There is also a myth worth clearing up. People think growing up too fast makes you invincible. Like pain turns into wisdom automatically. That is a comforting story, and it is incomplete. Because early responsibility can create competence without confidence. You can look steady while feeling unsafe inside. If your nervous system equates value with usefulness, you are easier to exploit. You work late without noticing. You over-deliver without asking for protection. You accept vague expectations because clarity feels like conflict. And you may sign up for unequal relationships, not because you are weak, because earning your place feels familiar. Here is the counterexample, because nuance matters. Sometimes a child who grew up too fast had real support in the background. A grandparent, a coach, a neighbor who saw them. In that case, the competence becomes a strength that does not eat the person alive. The difference is not the responsibility itself. It is whether the child had somewhere to be a child again. And if you're listening and thinking, "This is me," here's a question. When was the last time you let someone take care of you without paying them back? Remember the quiet kitchen, the bleach smell, the way you learned to read the air. Now put a new label on it. That wasn't maturity. That was adaptation. You didn't choose to be strong. You learned to be predictable in an unpredictable place. So the uncomfortable truth is this. You may still be living by childhood rules in an adult world. Rules like, don't need too much, don't upset anyone, don't take up space, and that can look like success, but feel like exhaustion. Here's a question you can answer in the comments. What did you get praised for as a kid that you now realize was survival? And what would growing up slower look like for you today? If this surprised you, hit like and subscribe for more hidden stories behind everyday things. And the permanent shift is this: being capable is not the same as being safe.